And we are live. Hello, YouTube. I am not late. It is still 8 o'clock. It just passed 8:01. I ain't late for shit. Welcome, everyone, to the Ranting Hour. Oh, Nijo's back. We rant for at least an hour, sometimes more about the in-between stuff that I don't make into videos. We go where the wind takes us. Before we get started, though, if you're watching live or catching the VOD, do me a favor, like the video. It helps out a ton. I know you guys love the content. I fat-lipped over that. Help it. Jesus, stop criticizing yourself, idiot. But yeah, you can do that to help out. Would really appreciate it. If you're watching the VOD, be sure to leave a comment. And if you're here live, chatting does help as well. I keep an eye on chat. Low volume. Am I low volume? Oh, sorry. Actually, my mic's nowhere close to my mouth. So let me... how about now? TLDR like the video. Jesus Christ. If you want to join our shenanigans, join the TCC Discord. We hang out there and waste each other's time. I'm
for reals. You made me not do work today.
Yep, sure do.
Pretty upset, dude.
Yep, cope. Go support TCC. Mark and Mino, they do a podcast every Thursday at 9 p.m. Central. Don't miss that either. Good stuff. Mino is back on YouTube in this form, so can't harass him about that anymore. If you want to become a member, join in on some emotes, $1. And every week I call for people to make content. You can step up to the plate. I see, shout out to, I think I saw Multiracial Lion in here. Yep, what up, Multiracial Lion? He's getting his content kicked off. Shout out to him. Shout out to the live stream with Type Zoe, Blart, and Raw Life on Twitch. They do their thing every Monday. More people making more stuff. It's all good to see. Ink may or may not come through. He said he was a maybe, which probably means no. But he's a grown man doing grown man shit. It'd be like that. But Mino, I'm joined by Mino and Nidre today. Water's delicious. Please hydrate yourself. What's on you guys' mind? Mino first. Nidre, it's on mute.
About what?
I don't know. I'm trying to get.
I'm trying to do some extra work now because you fucking sabotaged me.
Yeah.
For people that don't there, warm up here. I had to take a meeting in the middle of the fucking stream. It was so bad.
Yeah, Mino was streaming Metal Gear Rising on the TCC
so
channel, and he made an oopsie.
I think some of the meeting audio came through. That doesn't matter to me, but I was like, while trying to have the one-on-one meeting, I was trying to hide my video games and like turn off the sound and shit, and like video game music was like blasting through on my side. It was so awful. And I probably came off as so insanely awkward. It's so bad, but
dumbass.
Fuck BC. Look, never again. No games during work.
He's gonna finish Metal Gear Rising, if not today, then eventually. He just beat Sundowner, so only a couple bosses left, and he gets to finally see Nano Machine's son. Yeah, it was funny. Anywho, Nidre, what's up with you? Fresh off the 6-man, how you feeling? Pause.
Cool. Oh, sorry. My bad. I was doubly muted. So, yeah. Good stream, I guess, you guys. I don't know. I was watching some of it. I have no fucking clue what's going on in that game, but, you know, whatever.
Yes. True that. So, this is the cut. We're on the back end, the tail end of JP getting the new 6-man mode. And me and Nidre plays JP. We both had a blast in it. I wanted to kind of just throw out some ideas around there about what future content's looking like. My overall opinion was that it was a very nice change of pace. One thing that it did very well was it made me build Rem first off, because I have had Rem's LD for months now, and I'm gonna choke. I haven't had a reason to build her once, but 6-man encouraged me. Rem was just powerful in general for the turn manipulation, but it gave me a reason to use. It was the weird spot where people are useful, but you can't quite justify them in the party because they can be useful, but for not all the time. So having those extra slots open really gave way to like popping them on the fields like for a moment and then throwing them back out. So like Beatrix, for example, you could throw up Paladin's Protection, Rem, turn swap. People would revive with Shishtola. It's kind of similar to, I think I said this in my video, where it's like Boss Rush, where new strategies came out. You wanted to optimize for off-turn shenanigans because you got the restrictive actions you can take. 6-man itself opens up new takes on the Dissidia formula, the Opera Omni formula, and I'm really for it. Mino, I know you had some thoughts about the future of that potentially. We kind of discussed this in the Metal Gear stream. You want to talk?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, Nidre, do you want to talk about your personal experience with it first?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
Nidre is a self-professed tough guy, by the way.
Yeah, for sure. So for the people who are not familiar with what a tough guy is, it's just a guy who comes in, they stomp all the content, they move on. You know, they're not trying to challenge themselves.
Always path to least resistance. No shame.
No shame whatsoever on that, for sure. At least for me. But I tried it once with like a kind of a team of a few people, and then I had somebody die. I didn't have any revives, so I brought Y'shtola, and you can when you use Y'shtola, you can revive all 6 people, I guess you can't revive herself, so 5 people, and then you're like back in it. So that pretty much nullifies most of the mechanics. I don't really know if like an orb wipe is a possibility with 6-man. The orb was so easy to fulfill. It was
HP regen.
HP regen, very easy to
Although there was more to the HP regen, because you needed to have a lot of either you need to have constant burst healing or you need to have high HP regen, because the sap auras and the red percent. If you went below 30% and you got sapped too hard, then you just died instantly.
Yeah, the little red blue robot that makes it was making like pig noises or something. I don't know what that was about.
It was frog noises. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know how the fuck that reskin worked.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But at any rate, if one of your characters got below 30%, it just basically like straight up killed you. Like no Arden shenanigans, no Galoof, no Zack shenanigans. Just you're just dead. Like set HP to 0. So
yeah, I was fucking around with the Ignis run, and I got murked because of that, because I didn't manage my HP regen properly. That was pretty funny.
Oh yeah, you could definitely do that, but it's not a huge problem. You can still just revive back up. Of course, when you re-raise, you have to put all your buffs back on and all that. So it's not the most ideal way to do it, but that's kind of the way that I muddled through it. I had a very defensive team. I had Y'shtola and Zack and Layla. And
oh my god!
So
you were taking any damage.
Yeah. I had like 4 different ways to stop shit from happening to me, and everybody was doing decent damage too, because I had brought Locke, who's now somehow a great support. So
oh god.
Yeah, it was just a lot of fun. You like at times you were thinking to yourself, you're like, oh man, like I really wish this character's turn would come out later. So you would swap them out and then swap them back in later when you wanted their turn to show up. It's kind of like doing clever little shit like that. It's a lot of fun.
I would use Noel as my nuke button, so I just let his EX charge off the field, because it feels like ass when he's not pressing EX. So you just come back, drop the nuke, and get the fuck out. Very fun strategies. I wouldn't be mad if the rest of the content in the game was like this.
Right? That's what I was saying.
I wouldn't be mad at it.
I agree.
Yeah, nice change.
I mean, I don't think it will be, but that would be cool.
Yeah, it would be cool.
I mean, what if it was the next difficulty, right? Like 6-man is.
They did kind of hype it. I think it was the translation as being harder than Lufenia Plus. Was that what they said? Was it in the OP? I don't remember. I don't want to quote it exactly. I remember the gist. They mentioned it being harder than current content. It definitely was. Although that was like current content was like at a 1, so they didn't have to rise too much harder to fulfill that. But yeah, I mean, it really the thing of people being useful, but like calls are kind of, there's like a call meta now. You only bring like damage up calls and maybe a goofy call every once in a while, but having the actual slot available encourage so many more shenanigans. But when we have a lot of shenanigans at our disposal, that means the devs can kind of throw some shenanigans in there. I mean, just having a lot of moving parts are something that I like having to deal with. And they had the indicators on the screen, right? That was interesting. I didn't have to. Well, the funny thing is that I didn't know what the attacks did, so I still died because I couldn't read Japanese. Would I have read it if it was in English? Possibly. I don't know. It's still easy to get blown up by mechanics if you don't know what you're doing, but I did die to the blue attack, the nuke, just because I underestimated it. So that was a fun learning experience. Yeah, I'm down for whatever else they throw at us in this format. I mean, maybe they'll ramp it up, but if in an ideal world where this was the norm, I think I'd be down with it. This was definitely the most fun I had in the game in months, easily.
Yeah, and multiracial line brings up a great point, which was going to be one of the next things I talked about. It's like interesting to have two different bosses that are doing like different things that you're trying to time. It's like another kind of easy way for them to get fun and understandable complexity, but like not have to do anything too crazy, like build some kind of crazy mechanic in.
Yeah. Just what's a trying to think of something clever to say here, but it's not coming out, so I won't. How do you make something that it's already existing more complicated? Just throw something else to. It's like juggling. It's like if you juggle one ball and now you're juggling two. Pause. Never mind. I'm not continuing that. I wish God and Fire will be the new norm instead of Massive Explosion. I would love that. God and Fire brought back so many good memories, and I'm sick of Massive Explosion. Maybe it's because I've been playing the game for so long, but I've never actually liked Massive Explosion in any iterations ever. Is that a hot take?
I just remember like starting the game back when I still listened to the music.
Oh, right.
And like grinding Shiva Ultimate. Oh God, it was
Okay,
it was
that.
like
Oh yeah,
traumatized.
the screen. I'm not gonna try singing it. Hello, Blind Eye.
I think we all know though.
Ugh. You say something, Mino?
Oh, sorry. I'm doing work until it's my turn. My
Oh.
bad. And you know me. For some reason when there's fucking talking going on, I have to dictate what I type. I'm starting to think it's a mental illness, but yeah,
Wouldn't
no.
surprise
I think people shut up. I think people pointed that out before. Like when I'm on stream and I'm typing, I literally have to read what I'm fucking typing. I'm trying to keep it down, just slip through the mic. But
Interesting.
is it my turn? All right, it's my turn, I guess. Yeah, no. 100% what BC said, right? Like to add difficulty that isn't inflated stats, that isn't HP sponges and shit, you need more complexity. And you get more complexity with more variables. And so honestly, personally, I feel like the current DFFOO system is a little simple, right? Like they could tack on more complexity. 6-man fights open that up a shit ton, right? And like there's way more variables, and because you have double the options to build teams, they could increase difficulty and complexity by
You have
making
6
orbs,
calls too.
yeah, by making orbs crazy specific. For example,
Sequential
like
stuff.
yeah. Like for example, if they said like, hey, for this orb now, you gotta hit physical wind crits just to get it up, and just like a weird thing like that, you can do a ton of combinations to actually make that work, right? But it's the fact that it's more variables and more specific, like that. It's a lot more fun than say the upcoming X Death one with HP damage, right? Like how like one or two things can specifically fulfill that, or Pandemonium with the turn deletion and stuff. You could do something really crazy like imperiled ranged crits only or something, and with a 6-man team,
Yeah, that's a
not
lot
as
more
impossible
plausible.
as it sounds. Yeah, you could do a lot of shit with 6 calls and 6 people, and like BT effects and like round start buffs that come in and out. Like you can really make that work, and that would be a step in the right direction for me. And also like with the bosses, you can do crazier things. You can do multiple waves. You can have them transform. I like the attempt that they did this time, where they bounce between like physical vulnerable and magic vulnerable.
Yeah, and
or
then I had a magic team I had magic damage in the back. So if I needed to get some damage off, then I just do that.
yeah.
Or you'd be like fucking
and,
Alpha and battery through it, idiot.
Exactly. Like
I hate 'em so
really
much.
it's really cool, and I think they do really have to crack down on super specific fight conditions, because otherwise you're right? Like I think this was being discussed in other servers, and I was kind of peeking in during work, and they're like, "Oh, well, how much can they actually do with the system? Because if they nullify brave damage, you can just battery through it, or if they nullify, yeah, there's a lot of ways around things So if they start making something similar to like an orb mechanic and make it super fucking specific, then that could really start bringing life to the game again. As BC said, this is a fucking beta test, so I feel like a lot of people cracking down on the criticism of this is ridiculous already. Okay, first of all, I'm sure they were testing the system itself, as in, the free swap,
Yes.
and then
So,
having EX's charge in the
Nidra, you were
background.
playing during the initial release in JP, right?
Yeah.
You remember how glitchy it was?
Oh my god.
That should have been the beta.
Yeah.
We were crashing every other game.
Oh my god, that was like a particularly bad time for the stability of of JP in general. I remember like when calls came out too. Like if you had a certain call equipped, your game would just crash.
Oh, that was something that would happen that was for months, where it was on Divine Summon specifically, where you'd bring a call and your game would just die. So yeah, it was a buggy mess then. So and the game would slow down if like, I think they couldn't handle like having that many characters ready to come out. So the fact that they pulled it off and I had no slowdowns, no crashes. I think Alpha in his video, his game slowed down a little, but I mean, it's been over a year, right? I mean, clearly they put some work into it, and finally that UI came back.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point that not many people are saying.
Where's the background music? Oh my god, you're right.
The thing that not many people are saying is that like it could have been really buggy and it didn't end up being that buggy. And yes, the UI is pretty nice. Both the swapping UI, where you can see how much HP somebody has, and the EX charge of the character, and you could swap to any of them, as opposed to the old version of 6-man, where each character could only swap
that was
to one
really
other
good
character.
Too. You're not locked to a teammate. You could just jump around, whatever.
Yeah, really fun there. And then the UI changes for the thresholds and the meaty attacks. All really cool stuff, I think.
Yeah, and Pain is the most interesting, because I know Har was messing with Pain, because you can shift Pain's auras around, because her auras depend on her party position, if you aren't aware. So you can move Pain around.
Oh, that's so cool! Yes. I didn't even think about that.
And Pain was actually synergy here, ironically.
That's so.
So there's a lot of potential shenanigans for Pain. I didn't run her, but Har did.
Like I always say, right? Like, Little Birdie told me they're always a year and a half ahead in development. So like, guaranteed, like when they introduced Pain like a few months back, they're already thinking about this, like easily, for sure. And so I'm saying like people are really hard on the beta, but like the whole point of the beta was to see if it even fucking worked. So of course they're giving really basic restrictions, right? Like, switching between physical and magic. That's really basic.
Yeah, that's easy to get around.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, basic as in, like, let's just throw something in there to test the 6-man.
And they fucked Kurisame's debuff
yeah.
on the right guy by making it immune to speed down.
So I'm saying, like, I really think this is such an amazing idea for the game moving forward. And like BC and Nidra have been saying, characters will be seen in a whole new light, and they can do so many crazier mechanics like Pain's gimmick. Other games also have mechanics like that, where characters have bonuses switching in and out. Like there's other turn-based games that easily have the same mechanics of, when this character switches in for 3 turns, they get some sort of boost, etc. Like that, right?
And like how we say you pull them for boss rush because they're really good there. Now we can say, they'll probably be good in 6-man.
Yes. And this is like a different enough mode that you can truly, like Nidre was saying before the stream, like Heretics doesn't really count as a new mode, but something like Boss Rush is different enough, as you're saying, like, you could pull for Boss Rush, or Boss Rush has a different strategy. Yeah, like this is different enough to make it interesting. And I can sing the praise of this fucking mode forever, and we probably will continue to. Yeah. But I do have some concerns. You guys hear me out.
One thing I wanted to say, Jets Crush. Yeah. Also, thank you, Jets Crush, for pointing out that the boss was immune to speed down, which is why my Kurosame and Pain's debuff didn't land. That was really helpful. So thanks for that. But they gave out 100 Ultima Weapon cores for finishing this as well. So if you want to start plotting on the potentiality, is that a word, of Ultima Weapons being expected?
What is potentiality?
Inevitability. Fuck
potential?
You. Fuck you.
Why don't you just say potential?
Fuck you. That's why. 100 Ultima Weapon cores. So if you want to start thinking that leans in the direction of them wanting everyone to have ultimate weapons. There you go. Okay, go on.
Yeah.
Go
Well,
ahead.
before we move off the topic, one thing that I think that they were also trying to figure out in this beta was if, like in the previous version of Six Man, there was really no reason to swap characters out because you were in a co-op. It wasn't even available at the highest difficulty, and so nobody really swapped characters around. Like some people did, because they had Kais at one time and they swapped Kais out or something like that. But like, I think part of this was to determine if they could make a fight where swapping the characters was even a thing that the players wanted to do. And definitely you do when you're playing this. So it's success on that front, I would say.
Okay, Mino, now for your criticisms.
Hang on, squeezed in. Sorry, I'm trying to balance work now, and it's BC's fault.
Yeah.
I didn't work the last 3-4 hours, so now I'm catching up. So, so here is the potential concerns. Because first of all, so increased complexity and difficulty is always going to turn people off. We talk about this every time. Every time a new era of difficulty comes, we have a wave of people quitting and saying it's just too much, right? Like, real talk. I know, Ink, you're going to listen back to this. I wish you were here for this, but I'm saying I'm not trying to slander your name, Ink, but for when, like, Yuna Lufania dropped, he's saying there's a lot going on in this fight. At what point do you guys think the game is asking too much of its players? And if he thought that for Yuna Lufania, I can only imagine how much more complex six-man fights are going to get.
They could be.
Right?
Yeah.
Because QE had the same complaint, saying there's way too much shit going on. He's like, oh my god, there's 2 different bosses, and they're all doing different things, and they have different thresholds, and they have separate auras, and he's like, it's all that. Then you gotta think about your 6 characters, and what EXs are charged, and what auras are present, and then your fucking calls, and, you know, like, now it's gonna hit a point where people are like, okay, this is actually too complicated for me. Or things are gonna get too difficult. So that is one barrier to it. But again, if this is endgame targeting like hardcore veterans, then that's perfectly fine. But DFFO has historically lost waves of players every time it ups the difficulty and complexity. Hell, right now you have a lot of Doom posters saying like, look at how many numbers there are now, and look how high you can stack shit in JP, and you know, like,
but people say that every month.
Yeah,
I can't emphasize enough because I always forget who hasn't like type Zoe like Zoe hasn't been around to see like a new era kick in the game.
Yeah,
like Zoe wasn't around for the Lufenia plus Doom post. And like buckle up because people are about to lose their shit. That's funny, but like I've been playing the game for 3 years, and the amount of times I said, "Oh, X is so ridiculous in JP. Where is the game gonna go now?" Like there's this famous not famous, but there's a picture I have saved in my images from all the Doom posting a while ago, back when early chaos happened in JP, and it's over 2 years old, and it was I can't see the game lasting any longer than 2 years. And the greatest irony is that people have been saying that forever. And our horrible judges. This person's still active in the community, by the way. I know they are. So it clearly the memory of goldfish. But that's everything looks ridiculous, especially when you're not playing it. It's always
Blind Eye has a great point. Oh, sorry, BC.
Yeah, I wasn't going anywhere with that.
Oh, I was saying Blind Eye has a great point. He's saying, I feel like losing players can't really be mitigated. It's gonna happen, right? Like, and that's true. And that's why a lot of long-running games cater to the hardcore, right? Because they're the ones that are going to stick around. Yeah.
You
like,
drive them out, then.
Yeah, you play like Brave Exvius or Record Keeper, any long-running live. It's super hella complicated, but they cater to the hardcore, and for the pulling, and so that leads to, and you know, part of the complexity is right now we have a lot of players that approach fights very formulaic. Like they're like half a dozen people this week for sure. Like, I have a DPS, a tank, and a support. Why isn't my team working? Right? Like, how bad is that going to get when you have 6 fucking people? you're keeping track of, right?
My buddy who I just recently got back into Cydia, who's really big on, and he's not a theory crafting during Genshin either. He's a run the numbers, do what works. Your team is suboptimal, but then he actually puts in the work. And I told him the concept of Lufenia, and he's like, oh shit, that's dope. It's not just an HP spawn. It's like they've been doing in Genshin lately. Like I have to think methodically through fights and piece it together. And he's like, hell yeah, throw it at me. I'm trying to get the end game as soon as possible. And tackle, but it's a different kind of person because there's other people who don't want to deal with it. So at the end of the like, it just because it doesn't vibe with you doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah,
you feel me? Like oh, I'm not like it is difficult sometimes to separate. I don't like this versus this is bad, and the easiest way to sift out which of it your opinion is asking just why. So like for example, like the Kate Sith Lufenia, if I say this is bad, I can explain why, because the featured synergy, wow, holy shit, featured synergy did nothing for the fight. The orb encouraged you to push the enemy back, but they came back and fucked you over if you did. There was just a million different things working against you in that fight, and I could explain why. And then in conclusion, this is a bad fight because. But if you just say this is bad and then proceed to complain about it and then not really have any weight behind it, it's definitely more of an opinion. And don't hit me with the well, actually, it's just opinions, because I really hate that shit. I really
Did you see that conversation in Dystopia today?
No, I didn't. If you ever have to default to well, it's just my opinion. Honestly, I think you're. I did it, so I didn't. I don't know whatever happened in Dystopia today. No lie. So I'm just gonna choose violence. So I said it. If you have to back down to well, that's it's just my opinion. Then you've successfully lost. If you're not saying anything and trying to argue a point, if you're just acting in your feelings, then I don't really care what you have to say. Is that mean?
No, but everyone's asking you, are you talking about Kiwi's video right now?
No.
Okay. There, clarify.
I wasn't reading chat at all.
That the comment that we were originally jumping off of was what Blind Eye was talking about. That losing people can't really, like, people are going to leave one way or another.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a great review that I read once of like the Google Play reviews of Defo, where some guy was complaining that in EX Plus he could get the weapons that he wanted, but in LDBT now Square Enix controls the rates. And now that they control the rate, he doesn't get his weapons, so that's why he's quitting. So people are going to have bad reasons to leave one way or another. They might blame it on the game getting bad. You know, maybe they're bad. Who knows? But
that's a good point.
I was just making a general point about arguments that, I mean, I see this in Discord constantly with just people in general saying this is bad. And it boils down to being I don't like it. It's really just not having a good way to. It's either people can't explain themselves well, or this kind of ties into it, or they're too emotional to actually find a reason behind it, and not quite seeing that. Not like
I want to revisit this. I don't know if we want to talk about.
I don't know where else was going.
Kiwi's video because
not really.
Because like it's not like slamming Kiwi specifically, but for example, like on the podcast, we use Joe's video as like a launching point for discussion, right? Like bringing up the worst possible scenarios and like like criticisms and like looking at it from that lens. You don't want to do that?
Not really.
Well, I mean, I just have a tough time like getting anything out of what he's saying because it's difficult to like. It doesn't go in a straight direction. It's like a billion different sub points all at once. It doesn't really add up to anything to me. But
yeah, it wasn't quite cohesive to me. So I wouldn't. I'd rather have him on stream and ask the why question in real time. Because he went on in the comments, and I was still a little bit confused. And I also didn't quite care enough to kind of parse it out. But if you were to come on stream, and that'd be interesting at the very least. But I doubt that would happen. What's chat saying? Kate mission dungeon, that was brutal. People tend to quit when they're super low on resources, can't get the weapons they want. Yeah.
Wait, what the fuck? Sorry, I'm at a sick personal time. I gotta use my vacation time.
Multiracial lion. Speaking of being emotional, how are you feeling about tonight, Nidre? You got that Freya LD coming.
Yeah, I'm Freya guy, so never forget that. I have run Freya before.
Hey guys, I thought Final Mog was Freya guy. There's another Freya. There's multiple Freya guys
There's
out there.
Freya
What the
fans.
fuck?
There's Freya fans.
What the
There's fans
fuck,
of every
dude?
character.
So he's not Sonic Brawler, the Freya guy. Like that's
No.
who I thought he was.
No.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Hi, Josh
well,
Johnson.
so that's the one aspect of it. The difficulty is gonna drive people away. Everyone's right. Like that's inevitable. I just feel like it's such a huge deal every fucking time it happens in DFFOO because everyone is so used to doing endgame in DFFOO. We've had this conversation.
People have really been just skating by and not realizing it.
In the host channel, we've had this discussion that like this is the first live service game for a lot of people, or the first time they've ever played endgame in a video game, and they have such strong opinions that every content should be doable by everybody.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying like that's why it always seems there's way more pushback
I
whenever
might
it
send
happens
this.
to
So
DFFOO.
funny fact. I got the ranting hour name from the same friend that I got on because he likes to stay up at 4 a.m. and argue. I might get him on here actually. He having his perspective would be funny because he plays a lot of live service games too. He's into a bunch of looters. He understands end game content in games, and he's like, all right, and he pretty much the same approach that I have because I talk to him about this stuff a lot. I actually talked to him about some of the fucking theory crafters that never do anything, and some of the things that are and he's like, man, a lot of people just talk and then don't know it. Like the recent thing with the recent unit in Genshin, Raiden Shogun, there were leaks and people were theory crafting hard about how she worked, and then when the character actually came out, all the theory crafting like fell apart, and people that pre-farmed artifacts like were eating shit and didn't know how the character works, stuff like that. So I'm seeing that that is not exclusive to DFFO either. That happens in every community. So seeing it get echoed, these sentiments, it's really just I'm seeing now be partaking in a different community. It's just a certain personality type that likes to talk a lot but not really think things out.
Yeah, I guess because I'm used to I play a ton of live service games too, and I don't see that nearly as much in other games in my opinion.
Maybe you're not as immersed.
No, I'm as immersed. So like in MMOs, the population knows raiding is not for everybody, and they know these big raids come out and it's not supposed to be doable by everyone. It's supposed to be super hard. Lots of people are very at peace to never doing raids until they're power crept. And then in fighting games as well, like they all have top ranks. Like Strive has a celestial power.
And it's like you say, which was honestly brilliant. It's Final Fantasy fans who are used to not having to deal with things and just grinding to just beat things down instead of getting walled by a mechanic. That's a different experience.
Yeah, I think if you're going to talk about like complexity in the end game, like there have definitely been fights that have been more complicated. Kate Loof, Shiva, Divine Shiva. These are ones that are upcoming. Reigns would be another example, perhaps. And then obviously, like current JP, there's like no mechanics. They're like reusing fights, and nobody has HP attacks. So, I think when it comes to complexity, part of it is important. Part of the important part of it is how is that complexity presented to the user, the player, and how do they how can they reason about it? And if there are kind of limitations around it, then it can be easier. Like when people complain, for example, in Vayne Lufania, when you have to like keep track of how many turns it's been since they've taken, that's like a very opaque kind of complexity.
Agreed.
Versus like in this, they're trying to make it a little easier to forecast. Like they're saying almost, okay, like we're making it harder because there's two bosses and you have to swap characters. Well, now we're going to show you exactly where the thresholds are on the HP bar. And now we're going to show you when there's like a big attack. So they're going to try to like scale down and make it easier to deal with the complexity you already have. I think that's a great way to be approaching it.
It is easy to lose attention. Now, one of my big criticisms of the Vayne fight was that keeping track of 12 fucking turns was it 12 because of Final Fantasy 12? Holy shit! Why did that never click until just now? Anyways, 12. I was going into the fact that 12 is just such a bullshit number. But at the same time, if the enemy hasn't gone for 12 turns, that means you kind of just didn't know how to take your foot off the brakes. You feel me? So that could just be a simple thing of breaking out of order. or going more off turn. So that
I mean,
go ahead.
in GL we have the same. We just had the same thing, right? With the Transcendence 4 final boss. When you don't give him enough turns, then you don't do any damage against him, right?
Yes, I agree. But the same thing applies there. Break them out of order, and you usually don't have an issue with that. So while I do maintain that they should add an indicator, going overkill or knowing how to pump the brakes is a mitigation against that. Like I'm already doing that, knowing that if I don't want to count turns, then I'm gonna break them out of order. That makes sense?
Yeah, chat's saying, several people are saying Final Fantasy endgame is actually pretty difficult. Like if you do the endgame in the Final Fantasy games, guys.
You just follow a guide, bro.
Yeah, big fucking difference is how many of these FF fans actually play the FF endgame. Whereas, because I had this discussion before. I had this fucking discussion before with Inkwelder and Magnol. And, like, you can be like, oh yeah, Final Fantasy always had a strong endgame, but, like, I guarantee, like, how many FF players or FF fans actually do the endgame?
Plus,
and they
you
say
need to know what you're doing to go into it, and you're usually not finding all that shit out on your own in the first place.
Yeah, and they say, and here's the difference too. The counter argument that Ink and Magnol always give is that, one, it's not a intrinsical part of the game, right? It's like extra after you beat the story, whereas this is like shoved in your face every event. That's one. I don't think I super agree with that, but that's one of the points they made. The second thing is, rewards and progression are locked behind it. Whereas endgame in FFs are there for challenge's sake.
Yeah,
you don't really get anything from it.
Quickly, Silo Cons for 5. If they intro 6-man earlier to global, do you want it to be new content or any Lufenia Plus you think would be a great start? Someone already said they can't do it for Ultimate Weapons. That's not necessarily true. I'd prefer it be new content. I don't know. They could incentivize it somehow. Go ahead, Domino.
While they discuss the endgame stuff, it's just so we off tracked a lot, but I'm saying, like, with increased complexity is the one downside. The second thing is people are already afraid that if 6-man becomes a regular thing, it means they want you to pull more. And once again, a DFFOO unique problem because it's been so generous.
Yeah. Again,
my
friend was like, "Wait," I was telling him how people have millions of gems, and like we have a problem with capping resources. He's like, "What the fuck? Like, what kind of meta is this?" I'm flabbergasted. Also, if you're listening back to this, fuck you, idiot. This fucker. His first daily ticket he got in the entire game. It is the epitome of first ticket. He got Yuna's BT. Fuck him. I hate you.
Kind of bullshit.
Kind of bullshit. Literally, you can't beat that. Anyone that goes, "Oh, I got Yuna BT on my first ticket." Was it your first ticket on your account? I didn't think so. So that's funny shit. It is. I was thinking it's his experience though, and it's something I wanted to. I don't know if you had anything else to say about the endgame stuff, No,
go for it.
The new player experience. So we talk about this. Mino used to try and come at this perspective on the podcast as well, and trying to come at things from how would a new player approach things. And it was honestly just such a shock that he couldn't jump immediately into ultimate summon boards. He had to farm them up. I had to carry him through a Cosmos co-op. And I helped carry him through the Chaos co-op, and I'm like, damn, like he needs Power Stones, and it really is a struggle. Like I can't imagine getting into this game and sticking with it if you don't have someone helping.
It's a completely different game.
Yeah, I was
the game we're playing,
scratching my head, and then I'm like, oh, congrats, you got Yuna really early, but then like you don't have her artifacts. I was like, oh, that's awkward. God, yeah, like fuck, like, and then he doesn't have the Power Stones. He's got to run through the chapters under banner. You need to go remind him to farm a little more before the banner goes away, because he's gonna forget. Fucking bum ass.
Got to pre-farm.
I am grinding. I got one more Unit 15. Rip. Yeah, he's throwing everything at this banner before it goes away. But and then I'm like saying like we have like should you polls, but I'm like, and like he knows I'm on YouTube. And he knows like I have some notoriety, and he's like, yeah, so just tell me what's up. And I was like, Yeah, bro, and I immediately defaulted all the meta shit. I was like, wait, hold on. Don't I like emphasize that, like you can skip stuff and be okay, but it's like it's an entirely new experience as a new player, and he's trying to get like it might be just pure cognitive dissonance right now. After I immediately said, "Oh, bro, Citaran's was a mistake. B, you gotta grab him ASAP." But then I went in my poll plays video, I'm gonna be like, "Yo, like Citaran's is busted, but you can live without him." Like, it's weird for me to hold those two thoughts at the same time. And
I don't think so. Think so.
I've been in
Because
anguish.
You're targeting two different audiences, right? And like I do that the same for my buddy Hitmonchan, right? Like literally, because you were saying in host chat today, you were like, "Oh, it's funny being asked, should you pull in real time, right?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Dude, I've been dealing with that since day
And it's
one."
not some fucking bum ass YouTube comment. This is like one of my best friends. So I'm like,
right. So like on the podcast, I always say this unit is good for this and they're capable of this. And then when Hitmonchan at the beginning of every month, he's like, "Hey, who is worth pulling for this month?" And then I know him. He's a smarter player. He can get shit done. He doesn't really care about the intricacies of the game. He's literally like a tough guy like Nidre,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like I just want to spend minimal resources and meta through as much content as possible. So when he asks who he should pull, I give him much different answers, right?
Yeah.
So like if I'm on the podcast, I'm like,
That's a
"Oh,
good
hey,
point.
like Lion's really fun and Xdeath can do this," but when he asks me who should I pull, I'll be like Agrius and Yuna. That's it. Next
Yeah.
month, he's like, "Who should I pull?" I'll be like Reigns, dog. Maybe Bartz or Ishtola, depending on what you want. Like,
Yeah.
it's so it's okay. I think it's perfectly normal to have that dichotomy.
That eases the mental anguish a bit. Older players start in the trenches, new players start in the pool completely full. Yeah, I was telling him, like, you've got like a million gems like at your disposal, and he's just scratching his head like, really? I can just keep pulling forever. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of crazy. And I'm like, who you care about? And like, he's like, oh, I like Edge a lot. I'm like, nah, bro, that man's power crept to hell. He's like, shit, well, sucks. And he just moves on. Ace
is a hipster pull, Lion. If
disagree, hard
if
disagree.
If somebody asked me one BT plus for next month, I'd say Bartz.
Yes.
Easy.
Yes.
Easy.
I agree with that.
and
But that
a
does not
second
make
place,
Ace a hipster pull.
I would say Ish.
Oh no, disagree there.
Okay.
Hard
Either
disagree.
way, because I'm saying they're way more versatile and easier to use. I'm not gonna fucking throw out like Ace, who needs
Yeah,
more.
Bartz is very easy to use.
Yeah, like come on.
But Ace is super busted, so that's the other side of it.
Nah, I think you might eat those words on Ace, Mino.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll do Ace, but I'm saying like when Hitmonchan asks or whoever wants a path of least resistance, I don't think I'd recommend Ace.
I would say Ace over Stola. Full stop. Full stop.
We'll fucking see. Anyways,
Also, I just have to lord over BC that the only character that I figured out how to play in this game before him is Ace with LD.
That's good. No, fuck you. Because I ignored using Ace. I just didn't use him for a minute until I realized how good he was. So it wasn't that you figured it out before me. It's that you took the effort before I did. That's the same thing, isn't it? I'm just coping. You got it.
To clown on myself, I'm like afraid to use Shulk again. Or Shulky, I don't know how to. I just like forgot how to use her. I don't want to learn again.
Nah, that's real. What was the other thing? Aroha skill 2. You didn't know it had a plus version?
Yes, I had no idea until it came to GL. No idea.
wait, her S2 has a plus.
Well, I mean, because
right,
it
no, that's a
transforms.
plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't know that.
Okay. Anyways, as far as 6-man content goes, I think that's all I wanted to say. If you guys wanted to wrap it up, and basically to summarize, it's if the game becomes more difficult and hardcore, which is very fucking natural for live service games, because the longer they run, the more they hang on to their veterans. The more they want to milk their whales and hang on to their veterans, the more you push difficulty. We're building systems upon systems. Of course it's going to get more difficult. Of course it's going to get more complicated. That's how you keep sales up. And we have to eventually hit a point where people have to accept that not all content is made for everybody. Like even in MMOs like WoW and FF14, all the raids are broken into multiple fucking difficulties. I think like WoW has like 4 or 5 different tiers of raid difficulties. Same fights, 5 different difficulties with different mechanics, right? Like I think you've got your, what is it, Nidra? I haven't played in a while. You've got like your casual, your heroic, your normal, your
They have Mythic now too.
Mythic,
I
yeah.
think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know how high it goes.
Yeah,
They got a lot of difficulties.
Yeah, FF14 had your normals, your EXs, your savages, then your ultimates. Like this is just very natural, and ultimately the player base accepts, okay, I am this level of player. So like I feel like if QE's like current Lufania is the perfect state of the game, he can still continue to play current Lufania. No one's telling him he has to jump to the next difficulty if he hates it. Like that's just something that DFFOO players don't seem to fucking get for some reason. And so like I'm just saying it's a very natural progression, and I'm all here for 6-man. What a brilliant way to increase complexity in the game.
Just add more players, lol.
Yeah.
Well, I think that again, this comes to the idea of like what kind of complexity are you adding? Because like, can you honestly tell me that this game is better off having blooms in it? It doesn't really add anything at this point. Can you honestly tell me that this game is better having Cosmos difficulty in it? It's just like something that people run over.
Well, my new buddy, he didn't roll over it.
Well, in a week he will probably.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fair point too. When I started my JP account, I had to do my daily Cactuar or whatever.
Yeah, I had to carry him through that too. I was like,
did you know that it has a recast?
Yeah, he was streaming like him doing the daily Cactuar, and he got murked. I was like, wait, hold up, I one shot this with Tifa every day. What's going on? His average is like 10k, and he's not doing any damage. I'm like, whoa, hold on. So I had to fucking. I had to drop my Yuna on him during all the co-ops. He had to hunt. That's. I'm glad I can appreciate a lot of the lower level stuff, like having hunts be co-opable and having the chapter chaos be co-opable. Because his Yuna's ass, but he just threw up her BT effect, and then I went ham with Tidus with him and helped him beat the fight, like shit like that. A greater appreciation for some of the co-op mechanics in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that to Mino's point though is that the complexity doesn't like grow in a planned way; it grows in an organic way, and it seems like some of these difficulties are just here because they were the old versions of the difficulties.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of a complexity that you kind of have to try to combat over time. Like, do we need to have 15 CP weapons anymore? Do we need to have blooms? Do we need to have crystal level 50?
They sure as hell bottleneck. They keep the pattern going. Because you're like, all right, I got to come back. I got to play the game. That's how they got me on Genshin. I'm just like, all right, I gotta grind up sucrose so I can do I'm a fucking idiot. I really wish I'd listened to my buddy, and I've been telling him this because he's been telling me to do smarter things. I'm like, no, I don't want to do endgame. I'm lazy, and here I am scrambling to try and get into Genshin endgame after the culmination of my bad decisions. I'm like, bro, I told you, and I'm like, damn, he told me. So I mean, part of the challenge is that fun, but like I said, it's not for everybody. And
I think that's a great point in Defoe's favor. Is like you can't really screw yourself so bad that like you can't do endgame.
Yeah, I mean, you might have to skip over a couple fights, and that's me in Genshin right now. Like, okay, I'm probably not gonna finish floor 12 this time, but whatever, I can build better next time. You learn, you make mistakes. It's not frustrating. I mean. Some people just don't know how to take L's.
That's the truest thing. I think people need to just learn how to fucking take L's.
Take L's. Compete. Lose.
It's okay to say, I'm bad and I can't do this fight.
Yes.
And you don't have to say, this fight is badly designed and the devs should be fired. Like, I don't understand.
I get my ass beat for hours straight on stream by Mino and Har, and I'm better for it. Some people aren't. Some people can't handle that, so they don't partake, and that's fine too. But I'm not gonna lose my mind at Strive for having inputs too fast to not be able to do things that I want to do. I just take my L's, do what I can. It is what it is. I think the difference in that in MMO, the resource is there when you're ready for it. In Dissidia, a lot of resources tied to limited time events, so we feel like we're losing something limited. That is by design. That is the FOMO that they're selling with Gacha. That's inherently that's a Gacha specific thing. And it does increase to the feeling of taking an L, because once it's gone, it's unlike a fighting game where you can just do a rematch or a raid. Like raids are permanent content in FF14, right?
Yeah.
So you can just wait it out. But like if you couldn't do Reigns' event, you're getting smashed and then it goes away. You're like, damn, that's a permanent shame of noob status right there. I just couldn't do it. I suck.
I don't fucking know.
I'm being devil's advocate here.
No, because I'm saying like to address the resources around in MMOs. Resources are time gated in MMOs, so it's like every week you can farm so many resources. So it's not necessarily you're gated by content. You're gated by time. If you're not logging in and doing your dailies and weeklies, then you can fall behind. But they're also built again. Every expansion's a reset. If you just sign up for the next expansion and you start doing your weeklies again, you're caught up again. It's not really gated behind content. Like you kind of have permanent. You still have permanent missably resources from both sides. I don't know. Like in DFFO, if you miss an event and you don't get your fucking high armor tokens, big whoop. Next era, they'll probably be way more plentiful, right? Like let's look at what was locked behind content. What did you get for beating EX quests?
Fuck, I don't know. Gems and tickets?
Yeah. And like you can get that just by signing in every day. Are you really missing out? Same with MMOs. Like
it's a
MMOs,
mental
like,
thing. It's the
It's a
Gacha
mental
psychology.
thing.
They're fucking
Yeah.
with people and they're losing.
It's the psychology because
Open
it's
your
like,
mind.
You don't have to raid. They're like, oh, if you raid, you can get good gear. Well, guess what? Wait a couple months and you can get better gear even easier. So it's always the same level of power creep. You're not missing out on anything.
Multiracial. Well, sine wave being a head ass. I didn't do it. The dumb comment of the day, by the way, I forgot to do this, but it was me poorly phrasing, skipping people for your favorites on my Lufenia Burst Plus video. That what was it? Jax whatever in the TCC Discord called me out on today, where I bolded a full sentence, but it was supposed to be on 2 separate lines, so it made it look like I was saying something I didn't. This is why I'm not a typesetter. I don't do graphic design. It ain't shit.
You were saying don't save for your favorites.
Let me find that video, but that picture, but it was really funny because I was cracking up because the nail in the coffin was when Nidre said he noticed it, and I was like, oh no, and he just didn't say anything. I'm like, that really was a thing. It wasn't a one-off because if Nidre noticed it and didn't say anything, I'm fucked. I'm Jacksonist and I called you out. You called me the fuck out. Exposed my dumb ass. So let me get the dumb comment or the dumb thing of the week on here.
So can someone explain? This is like I don't play that many other live service games, but people are always talking about this notion of like a tower that resets every month. Does Genshin have that? Do other games have that?
Genshin has that. Yes. There's 12. You bring 2 teams of 4, and you have to do 3 consecutive missions, and then you go all the way up to the top, and it's the really hard one. And it doesn't give the greatest rewards, but the challenge is why a lot of people do it. And then it resets
every month?
Every 2 weeks.
Oh, every 2 weeks, and then so the next 2 weeks is a different set of.
They tweak.
That you have to do?
So every 4 weeks it's the same bosses, but they tweak the effect on the field. I think it is. I don't know this exactly because I haven't really been doing it that much. But they first they tweak the effect on the field, and then they tweak the enemies. So the new enemies are coming out I think tomorrow. So that shifts around. So that encourages people to build people up so they can tackle the end game. But apparently, if you've been playing long enough, it goes by quickly. Although these last couple ones have been a lot harder, apparently, and people are not happy. So it's a difficulty spike. That'll be fun to watch, right?
Oh, it always is.
Oh, yeah. And I ate shit when I finally got able to do stuff, and then I got sent right back down. Dissidia could take the Labyrinth. I talked about this with Ink and Dreamy. One of the things Genshin does, it has this raid type event where you can customize your own difficulty. And so think about if we were to apply this to 6-man, for example, you'd be able to say like, oh, max 4 players in your party, or disable the explosion aura at blue. So you could craft, actually, high key. Damn, that's a good ass idea. So the max reward would be turning on all the switches, and you'd have to deal with all the fuck you mechanics like the frame turns, the nuke, the damage percent switches. But if you turn some of them off, you wouldn't get the full amount of ultimate cores. So it'd still be accessible. Like, oh, you could turn down the break bonus and the reductions too. You could put it at chaos level, Lufenia plus level, and you could toggle on some mechanics. And having that like kind of make your own difficulty, especially if Ultima cores are the reward, I could really see that working. What do you guys think?
That is a good idea. That could work.
Yeah, that actually just sounds like fun. Like it was hard. The one issue that was there before was scaling the rewards to it.
Is this different than doing the missions for the fights though?
Yes.
The HP requirements.
It
and the
is
turn
different.
requirements stuff.
It is different
Like, isn't
because
that technically the same thing? Like you can do them all for the maximum reward, or you can do.
You have to do it in one go. You have to do it in one go in Genshin. So like Genshin, you can literally turn on boss mechanics. Like there's an HP sap mechanic in one of these that you can turn it off. Like, oh, if your HP drops below 70%, then it will continue to trail down until the end of the fight.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, could players potentially get like a version of that with the missions? Like you're saying, yeah, they could be done separately. But I'm saying, like, isn't that like?
Well, I think that
the missions?
the content that could be put into the game as missions, but I think that. Like right now, the missions are things that you do on the way to finishing the fight generally, except occasionally, like you get Desh Lufenia and you have to really think about the HP mission or something like that. But generally, they're like kind of afterthoughts, and I think this is the point that BCs bring up. This is the point that a lot of people have been bringing up, is that if there was more tunable difficulty, the system that I always think of is Hades' heat system. I don't know if either of you guys have played Hades before.
I haven't gone far enough in it.
But you can kind of like tune what the
This
difficulty
dude's got
is.
4 unibursts so far. Oh my god. You gotta be shitting me. He's got more burst loops than LD dupes. Are you shitting me? Whatever, continue. Sorry.
That's crazy. But, yeah, so like, you know, there are ways that they could be tuning the difficulty that they aren't. There's like things that I also think about in 6-man, like they could have restrictions down the road of like how many times you can do a swap, or maybe the boss counters you when you swap a character in. You have to think about when's the right time to do it. There's a lot of more mechanics that they can play off of here, and all these systems can kind of tie together if they should choose to, you know, build out these systems. But right now, you kind of have the orb system and whatever mechanics the fight has. You do your missions, you log off, and that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, even thinking even farther beyond that, you could toggle whether the orb kills you or not.
Sure.
Stuff like that. And you could just not get all the rewards. But then that might produce the problem of people saying, oh, it's too hard when the orb kills you. But then the ball would be in their court saying, well, if you can't do it, just turn it off. You know? So I think that'd be really good, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a thing that Mino often talks about. You know, people complaining that the game isn't hard enough, but they're not, choosing to add more difficulty to it. They're synergy stomping. I think that this would help with the people who say, well, I don't want to put challenges on it myself. I want the game to make me do that. There could be ways that the game would do that for you. It doesn't happen right now.
Yeah, true. Now is the time for Global. We are ahead of the content. Lufenia Plus is next month, Chief. That's going to be a fun time. That's probably a topic for a separate day, but the beneficialness of Doom posting, like maybe some people were saved. Maybe some people shouted a bit louder about the Unifight. You know, maybe there wouldn't have been so much upsetting. Who knows?
Yeah.
And T4, what the fuck? Apparently that blindsided a lot of people.
Really?
Oh, we were talking about T4 for months. It was like last. We were like
I've been
Divine Alex and T4, right?
Who missed out on T4? That was
me. I didn't listen to that shit.
Oh, yeah, T4 is nasty. Y'all best get out there and get Xdith. Not unless he comes on a free ticket poll. That's the best.
I'm tokening Xdeath's BT. So.
But okay, you know what else you should do? Put on your blog. Walk right into it. Silently said this is the best day to ranting hour. Not if we got 116 viewers and 63 likes. Actually, that's a pretty good ratio. But I think we're largely done here. We can start wrapping it up. Nidra, closing thoughts?
Nah, it's all good.
Nah,
Game's
I
fun.
love it. Nah, Chief Key. Oh, right. I didn't put the dumb thing on the screen. Hold up. Boom. So this was the dumb comment of the week by me. If you're seeing it on screen and I'm talking through it, and I said if you have to ask, don't. I didn't put a period after it, so now it looks like if you have to ask, don't save enough for faves. So that's idiot, stupid. Why didn't anybody else point that out? Okay. But yeah, Mino, closing thoughts.
I guess I'll choose some violence because I can't do it on the podcast. And that's basically what I've been holding back. What I've been holding fucking back this whole thing is related to the fucking conversation. And that's one, as Nidra and BC have said, and a lot of you in chat have said, if you're not enjoying the game, just fucking quit. I'm so tired of these fucking negative Nancys literally bitching about every single new thing.
And that is not
shit.
Mino saying it is not okay to criticize the game for any smooth brains.
I'm saying like, okay, that brings me to violence point number 2. Okay. Honestly, is that, you know, like if you're gonna quote unquote criticize the game, in QE's own fucking words, there's a difference between criticizing and bitching, and if QE's not gonna offer any solutions, then it's just bitching, because his whole fucking video is, I know they give me the info, but I don't want to read it. So, and then I'm surprised that I don't know what's going on. That's just bitching. Holy shit. Like, I at what point are you satisfied then? You don't want it spoon-fed because it's too easy, but then when it gets too complicated, you don't want to do the work, and then you're okay, you know what? Fuck that shit. That's my final thought.
All right, Mino has decided to choose violence at the end of the stream. My closing thoughts are: I really hope we get more 6-man content. Really happy with the game. There will be no ranting hour next week as I am taking a break, going on vacation. I won't be uploading any videos. Well, if I have stuff scheduled, but it's gonna be a little light next week. So don't get your hopes up.
Well, fortunately, there's like no events in JP next week either. So
bars. That's what I'm here for. Perfect timing. Mino, are you gonna play Metal Gear Rising after this again?
You want to finish it tonight?
It's
Can
possible.
I eat first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you gonna stay up?
Yes.
How many? 2-3 hours left?
At most.
Okay, then yeah, sure. Give me an hour to eat. I'll jump back on TCC. And one more final thought, since people were bringing up in chat, reminded me. I fucking hate the term common sense. I fucking hate common sense, because common sense is what people use. First of all, you're assuming everyone thinks the exact same way you do. Common sense is, I don't hate it. And people usually just say common sense when they cannot or will not articulate what they're thinking. Like, if BC was like, how do I fucking operate this Tesla? I'll be like, use your fucking common sense. Like, what does that mean? Like, everyone has different backgrounds. Everyone grew up differently. Everyone learns different. Common sense is the biggest bullshit fucking term, and I fucking hate anyone that says use common sense. Can you imagine you go to a job and you're asking how to be trained in it, and they're like, use your common sense, right? Like, what? It's the dumbest fucking cop-out term for fucking idiots. I hate anyone who leans on the common sense argument forever. In all things, forever. Alright, I'm done.
Alright, more violence. Speaking of violence, Metal Gear Solid Rising. Nope, this is Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. There's plenty of violence, so if you want to see Mino finish up that game and call it an easy game as he gets worked by bosses, be sure to come through to the TCC podcast.
I haven't died once.
Yeah, it's because you keep reviving with nanopaste, stupid. Or join the TCC Discord server. Come shoot the shit with all of us. Talk about the game. Talk about relevant things. It's a good time. This has been the Ranting Hour. Samey couldn't make it, but he's doing pro man shit, so it'd be like that sometimes. Where's that Nero playthrough? Eventually. I'm getting Mino into the the adrenaline pumping feel of playing stylish slashers. And he's calling the game trash, but then he fights the bosses and calls them fun. So that's really what we're here for. Sundowner is the funnest Alabamian I've ever seen. I'm fucking invincible! Alright, thanks for coming through, guys. Be sure to like the video, comment on the way out. Have a good night.